What is that next smallest step? And then as you start to take each step, they start to reveal themselves. You don't need to know all of the steps that happen after step B. All you need to do is complete step B, and then the next step will reveal itself. And then you tackle that next step when it reveals itself. And if you've been waiting to have all of those steps figured out before you start that big project, you're never going to figure all those steps out before you start. So this is your permission from me to just start moving forward and trust that you will figure it out as you get to each step. Hey, welcome back to Imperfect Action. This is episode 712. Today, I'm sharing the practical things that I do in my business to avoid overwhelm. Because when I talk to my audience, when I survey my subscribers and you listeners, I know that one of the big struggles that comes up over and over again is that you're feeling overwhelmed by all of the different things that you could be doing in your business, all of the things that you should be doing, all of the things that everybody is telling you you need to be doing this. And you're getting pulled in a million different directions. And I know this isn't just something that comes up at the very start of your business. It is something that you can be struggling with years down the track. It's still something that I, in my business, have to work to actively prevent, because otherwise I can very easily find myself with so many things on my to-do list and no real direction, or all of the things are on my to-do list and I'm so busy, but I'm not moving any closer to where I want my business to be or to the goals that I'm trying to achieve with my business. And then I end up just doing nothing, or I end up doing nothing of any kind of real value, right? I'll either be so overwhelmed that I'll just go and bury my head in the sand and read a book and pretend that there's nothing on my to-do list, or I will pile my day full of things that don't move me forward. The stuff that makes me feel busy, the stuff that makes me feel like I'm being productive, but that really isn't the best use of my time and that isn't going to move the needle. So today I'm going to share 6 practical things that I do to avoid that feeling of overwhelm or to prevent it in the first place. And the very first one is really simple, called brain dumping. If you haven't done this before, it's such a great tool for anything where you just have so much in your head. It's probably the simplest one on the list. And when I have any kind of big project with hundreds of tasks floating around in my head, all I do is I grab a piece of paper, I grab a pen, and I write it all down. Every single thing that is in my head floating around. I need to do this, I need to do that, everything. Even the tiny ones like feed the dog, bath the dog, like all of the personal tasks as well as all of the business tasks. If I can get them out of my head and onto paper, it feels like it's a little bit more in control and it's not just using up that brain space. Now, I also find it helpful then to also break each one of these tasks down into smaller tasks. So instead of create module 1 of my online course, I would have outline module 1, create slides for module 1, record module 1, or I could make it even more granular. Outline module 1, lesson 1, create slides for module 1, lesson 1, so that I've got in front of me everything that needs to be done. And there's just something so calming about getting them out of my head and having them on paper, seeing them there in front of me. And then for some reason, I don't know why, but once I see the tasks in front of me, there pretty much always seems to be fewer tasks than I imagined when they were spinning around in my head. And it feels a lot less daunting because now I can see what exactly needs to be done and I can prioritize them and I can tick them off as I go, which also feels really nice, ticking off tasks as I go. The second little tool or strategy is called the ABZ framework, or ABZ if you're American. And I heard this one through Shan Puri. Now, while we don't need to know all of the steps in achieving some kind of big project, we like to try and fill in the gaps. Our brain is like, oh, I need to know all of these steps and I don't know all of the steps. So I'm just going to imagine what they all could be. And it ends up being like this big floaty thing, big thing floating around in our brain, all these imaginary tasks that we've never done before. And all of these steps that we don't know what we need to do. So the ABZ framework focuses on 3 things. A is where you are today, point A. Point B is the very next smallest step. So the next step that you need to do towards that end goal, and Z or Z is that end goal, where you're headed with this. So let's say that you're creating an online course. Point Z is you've created the course. Point A is where you are at today, where you haven't done anything. Maybe the next smallest step is starting to outline it, or starting to get really clear on who the ideal client is and what problem this course is solving for them. What is that next smallest step? And then as you start to take each step, they start to reveal themselves. You don't need to know all of the steps that happen after step B. All you need to do is complete step B, and then the next step will reveal itself. And then you tackle that next step when it reveals itself. And if you've been waiting to have all of those steps figured out before you start that big project, you're never going to figure all those steps out before you start. So this is your permission from me to just start moving forward and trust that you will figure it out as you get to each step. Okay, strategy number 3, calendar blocking. I am very guilty of thinking that I can get 15 hours worth of work done in a 5-hour day. And while I can get more done in 5 hours than most people can in a day, I probably can't get 15 hours worth of work done in 5 hours. Like, I'm not superhuman. So calendar blocking means that I'm taking the tasks I want to get done today and I'm mapping them into my calendar based on how long I think they will take. And on days when I have calls and meetings, I'm obviously going to get a lot less done, or I'm going to have the capacity to get less done. So it shows me where I can fit these tasks in between what's already in my calendar as well. I use the task management tool Sunsama, Sunsama, for this one, and I map all of my work and my personal tasks into the same calendar. And that way, I know what I need to be working on at any given point in the day. And if I finish quicker, it means that I can start that next task sooner. And if I finish that next task quicker, and I finish all of my tasks for that day quicker, it means I can finish my day earlier. And that is really motivating, especially when it's sunny outside and I want to go and do something fun. I can finish my day a little bit earlier. So if you want to try Sunsama free for 30 days, you can head to stephtaylor.co/Sunsama, Sunsama. We'll pop the link to that one in the show notes as well. The other reason why I like calendar blocking is it means that I can actually complete my to-do list for the day. It means that I'm not just piling all these tasks onto a list and continually rolling them over from day to day to day. At least I can get to the end of my to-do list for that day and get that sense of satisfaction rather than that feeling of guilt that I just haven't managed to get enough done today. Okay, number 4. This one's really simple. Actually, this one's simpler than brain dumping. Deleting tasks. So those tasks that have been on your to-do list forever, that you just keep carrying forward. They've been there for months and months and months. And every day you're like, next Thursday is going to be the right day for me to do that task. And then next Thursday rolls around and you're like, oh no, I'm going to do that one tomorrow. Then tomorrow rolls around and you're like, oh, maybe next Wednesday. And it just keeps moving forward. I have come to accept that some of these things I will never actually get to, so I delete them. Or in Sunsama, I can archive them into my backlog list. So I'm not permanently deleting them, but they're sitting there in this list of backlog tasks that one day if I want to, I can go and pull the task out and do it. But it's not sitting on my to-do list getting carried forward forever, and I'm not continually guilting myself for not doing this one thing. And sometimes I'll actually ask myself, do I need to do this task? So if there's a task that I don't want to do or that's getting carried forward a lot, do I need to do this? And if I don't need to do this and I can't delegate it to somebody on my team and I can't simplify the task or streamline it in some way and it doesn't have to be done, then I just delete it. I've made peace with deleting it. Okay, number 5, not doing everything all at once, or, in other words, prioritizing, which is easier said than done, I think. I've really had to come to terms with the fact that, yes, I can do anything. No, I can't do everything. And I definitely can't do it all today like I want to. Everything that you are saying yes to, you are having to say no to something else. And it really comes back to what actually matters. What is actually important? What is moving you closer to your vision versus what are you making important that isn't important at all? What are you prioritizing that's not moving the needle? And unless you know what your priorities are at any given point in your business, it's really easy to find yourself feeling overwhelmed because you just have no direction. You're really scattered. Unless you don't know what vision you are working towards, you're going to find it really hard to know what priorities you need to prioritize. And I actually created a free workbook called Escape the Messy Middle, where in part of it, I take you through a vision setting exercise so you can figure out where your business is heading and what you need to prioritize to get there. You can grab that at stephtaylor.co/EMM. You can send me a DM on Instagram. I'm there at stephtaylor.co. Send me the word EMM and I'll send you the link to download it. And we'll also pop the link for that in the show notes below. And then number 6, the last one on my list is planning, strategic planning for the year, for the quarter, and for the month, essentially breaking it down into goals. As a team, we do quarterly planning now and we do annual planning. And in the quarterly planning, we review the last quarter and we set goals for the next quarter. And then we turn those goals into action steps. And even though we've been doing it for a little while now, I'm still guilty of putting way too many things in our goals list for the quarter. And then we realize when we start to do it, like, oh, we might not be able to get all of this done. But the main thing is that it's giving us direction, right? We know as a team what to focus on. And then when things get busy or I get a little bit distracted by a shiny object, I still know what needs to happen to reach those quarterly goals. And then that helps me with prioritizing and where I'm spending my time. So there you have it. 6 practical tools: brain dumping, ABZ framework, calendar blocking, deleting tasks, prioritizing, and then planning for the year and for the quarter at once. All right, that is it for today's episode. Make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss any new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if you haven't already left a review, please take 30 seconds to do so in Apple Podcasts. I read every single one of them and it means a lot to me. Thanks so much for listening. Catch you next time.